Yo, what's up, guys? So I gotta, just put my hand across the camera. So I got another cool tip for you guys. Something that I see a lot of people don't ever talk about, really, but it's pretty important. So if you've ever painted, over here, let me just turn you around so you can see. If you've ever painted on a surface, that is not like a canvas, right? So it's not like one of those that's pre-prepped and ready to paint or anything like that. And you're going to paint on something, you have to prep, right? And you have to sand it. There's different ways of sanding stuff. So I'm going to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about sandpaper. Right? So this is really heavy grit sandpaper here. This is 80 grit. These are my sanding discs that I use. And I usually use this for when something's really rough. So you see how the number here is 80. If I go over here, open this up. This is where I keep my finer sanding paper. So I have a big box of this 1000 grit. This is what I use for multiple things. But most of the time you'll see me wet sand. It'll be with the 1000 grit. So the thing is, the reason there's a difference in the number is the lower the grit, it's the grainier the sandpaper, right? So the number stands for the amount of particles per square inch, I believe, something like that. And so the lower the number, it's the rougher the grit. Usually if you're going to sand something, right, and say the surface is really rough, right? Obviously this one's pretty smooth already, but say you get one and it's really rough, it has scratches and stuff like that. You would want to start with something kind of coarse and then move your way to something fine, right? So the whole thing is, maybe I wouldn't start with 80 grit per se. This is for like really, really rough stuff. But stay like 160 grit, sand it out, and what I would call break the clear, right? So get a lot of scratches all over. And then come back with something like a 220 or a 320 grit, and then sand smooth, what you did with that, and then maybe finally hit it with a 400 before you actually lay some paint down. Oh no. What? Oh, you're still looking for the keys. You're good. Keep looking. So yeah, and this is where wet sandpaper comes in, right? So a lot of people ask why I'm using this. So when say you have a surface that's already painted, so like this bike over here, right? So remember this Aztec bike that we painted, and if you guys remember, the bike was already black, right? So this black was the original paint, and we just wanted to add artwork onto it, right? We want to add these designs on there. So what you do is you take some wet sandpaper, and I like using 1000 grit. I've seen people use 800 grit. I feel 800 grit's a little too rough, and sometimes you could chew through the paint on the edges, especially. So I find 1000 grit a lot better to use, and it also helps the paint adhere, right? So if you don't sand it and you spray stuff, your paint won't stick and it'll just come off, right? So you need to always sand your surface to get it ready. So 1000 grit is usually what I use when something's already painted and we just want to add artwork to it. And it works for motorcycles, it works for vehicles, Xbox controllers, little model cars, pretty much anything. If you just already have it, the color that you want, and you just want to add artwork, this is my go-to sandpaper. Again, I mix it up. I have a bucket of water, and I'll put in a few drops of soap. Where is it? It's over there. So there's my bucket. I put in some water, a few drops of soap, get a wet towel like that, and I throw some of these in there. I usually cut this one sheet into 3 sheets, and then I use my hand and carefully sand the surface. Again, you got to be careful, especially on the edges. You don't want to actually like sand through the paint. So on the edges is usually where the paint is the thinnest, so you're gonna have to be careful with that. But if you're careful and easy with it, You could sand off most of the clear or get it nice and dull to where you can pretty much get anything to stick onto it, not just Create text paints, but obviously we use the automotive base coats and stuff too. And that's a really good way of getting artwork onto stuff. So sandpaper is really important. Make sure you educate yourself on sandpaper, on what you need for your project. Again, like I mentioned in the last video, go to your local paint store, kind of tell them what you're doing, what the surface is like, right? You need to know what the surface that you're painting is like, and they could direct you to, the right sandpaper and the right paint. So hopefully that helps you guys out. And I'm kind of lacking on the videos, but it's been really busy around here lately. And yeah, so yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Later.